from Everything Goes Cold, and you're watching CNBC. What? What is? Oh, and I'm being interviewed by COMA Music Magazine, not CNBC.
So obviously, with Everything Goes Cold, you yourself and the band like to use a lot of humor. You've also been a part of Caustic, who likes to use a lot of humor. Combi Christ. How does it feel? I mean, just knowing you're a big contributor.
I've been in Combi Christ.
No, I mean, they're another band.
I mean, well, yes, I have been in Combi Christ. I'm secretly Andy LaPagua.
They like to use a lot of humor. Do you feel like, I mean, like, Garrett, I was a big contributor to that. Like, how does that make you feel that all these bands are coming out with humorous type stuff?
Well, I've been doing sort of humor-infused industrial music actually for a really long time. I had a band years ago called C-Call-and-Slash that it was a small thing. We didn't do too much, but we seem to have had some impact. I know, like, Darkness from the Gossicles has said that we were an influence on him, which was really cool for me because I love that band. And when we were doing that, around that same time, Compressor was around, and he was doing stuff, and Bool, who are they're sort of on the edge of humorous, not humorous, and so that's always been something that's really important to me, and it's difficult to be funny and get yourself taken seriously. So I'm really glad to see that especially somebody as awesomely successful as Combi Christ can pull it off, and of course and I love playing in Caustic, and that's that's always super fun. But I also, whenever this comes up, I like to point out that this isn't as new or as uncommon a thing in industrial music as people sometimes think. Fetus, Skinny Puppy, and Ministry all used humor pretty extensively, and they used satirical devices. So a lot of times to make serious points, but we're maybe one step farther into funny than some of those bands are, but not too much. And even Leibach, who are a band that I actually take very seriously, we're making serious points using satirical devices. So I don't want people to go thinking we're some novelty act, because because it ain't like that.
You've been a part of a lot of acts, obviously. More recently, Cyclone 9, Area, stuff like that. Now, Area is still intact, and the future of Cyclone 9 is currently unknown. Like, do you plan on working with any of the members of Cyclone 9, like, more recently? I mean, is that something that's come up? Or?
Well, it is. First of all, I actually just played a few shows with Area for the first time in several years. Right. Which was tons of fun. We just did some West Coast shows. And that was a great time, and hopefully I'll be doing that again because I love playing in Area. And Cyclone, that's a little bit trickier. It's pretty unlikely that you'll ever see me actually in Cyclone 9 again, but I'm still friends with a lot of the guys. I was hanging out with John Siren last night, he and I weren't in the band at the same time, but he's a good friend of mine, and and every time Philip comes into town, we all hang out. And I hung out with Joseph Heresy recently, who was one of the founding members, along with me and Nero. And we're actually going to try to get him to maybe play some guitar on the new Everything Goes Cold album. Right. And and I still I talk to Rodney pretty frequently, see him when I go to LA sometimes. So we're all pretty much in touch. I don't hear from Nero too often, but he's a tricky guy.
Yeah. It seems like they've all kind of like just gone off and done their own thing.
Well, Joseph kind of retired out of the music industry for the most part. He's been busy. He went back to school and he's been taking care of himself. Philip, of course, as everybody probably knows, is doing fucking great. He's playing guitar for Combi Christ now, which is awesome. I just saw him playing bass at the Genitorturers, and that guy, he's a fantastic musician. He's got a new project out called Zondustrial. That should be really cool. And then Rodney, I don't know, Rodney's ridiculous. Who knows what that guy's doing? And I haven't heard from Kevin in a while. I should hit him up. Hopefully we're going to be passing through his neighborhood on the way back from this tour, so hopefully I'll see him then.
Another big thing, Babyland was one of your favorite acts.
They are my all-time favorite band.
Your all-time favorite. How did it feel when you heard about their disbandment? Like, did that hit you pretty hard as being like, that's my favorite band, and now they're gone? A touchy subject.
No, it's an interesting question because it's I mean, if I tell you the answer without a good qualifier at the beginning, I'll sound crazy. But like I'm not generally somebody who's too prone to histrionics, but for a lot of people, people who don't live on the West Coast and never got to see this band, like they played a lot. I saw them like 5 times a year, half the time. A lot of times, fortunately, playing with them, and those of us who went to a lot of the shows were very close with each other. We still are very close with each other. I have a whole social group, literally just based around going to Babyland shows, and it was a very going to those shows is a very emotional experience for me and for a lot of my friends. So it was really, really, really upsetting when that happened. It's funny because some of my friends and I talk about it sometimes, and we all have a difficult time even listening to the music because of it. It's real tough. But I'm in touch with the guys. I just saw Dan last week. He went and played a Continue show in San Francisco. We hung out there, and I talked to Smith not quite as often, but every so often, and I'm real excited that we're going to get to be at Kinetic with Dan playing with Continues again.
Right.
And Continues definitely has a different feel, so I hope people give it a good chance. Right. It's a very, very different kind of energy, but at the same time, it has, Dan's songwriting and his stage presence are just so incredible. Mm-hmm. It's a great act. So.
Right. Have to check that out.
Yeah.
What are some of your biggest non-industrial influences, would you say?
Well, in terms of music,
yes.
Morrissey, his solo work especially, which a lot of people misconstrue as being very emo and down. It really isn't. It's actually a lot of satirical, a lot of funny, sort of manipulation of the audience tricks, which I really enjoy. I like The Might Be Giants a lot. Queen, Billy Joel, that surprises people. What else? I've been listening to a bit of old goth lately. I've been listening to the Rosetta Stone a lot.
Really?
Actually, yeah. I don't know why. Which is something that I was into in high school. And I've listened to a lot of chiptune. There's a band out right now called Anamanaguchi that are, if you get a chance to see them, they're incredible. They do chiptune, which is 8-bit Nintendo style music, but they mix it with live guitar, bass, and drums, and they put on an amazing show. They did the soundtrack to the Scott Pilgrim video game.
Oh, I did not know that.
They did. It's fantastic. Really cool. You got to check that out. A couple other chiptune bands I like greatly. Binar Pilot, STU. A lot of good stuff in that scene. Locally from SF, there's a band called Crash Faster that is really great.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, one of the many unique things about Everything Goes Cold is your mascot.
Oh, yeah.
Now, more mainly, have you ever considered him, turning him into kind of a comic type thing, like a long strip, or?
We've already done that.
Well, like a comic series.
Yes. The first comic is available. It's part of the Ice Brigade membership pack, which you can get. You can get the merch table, or you can get from our record label, Bit Riot Records, and we are hoping to continue that. There's a layout of a storyline that already exists. It's producing that was really expensive, and it was really difficult, and it was a lot of work for me and a lot of work for Stitchmind, our artist. So we've been trying to figure out how we can do it and make it a little bit easier on everybody.
So you guys plan on keeping him around for a while?
Yeah. He's he'll probably be there permanently.
Good. So how did you come up with that idea for him? How did he come about? Was it just
Actually, what happened was I had the band name. And then after I had the band name, I drastically changed what the band was going to be like. But I'd already done these remixes. I did a remix for Erica Unjanal and an area remix and a couple other things under that name. And I was like, now I'm stuck with the name. But when we came up with it, it wasn't going to be a funny project at all. I was going to try to do something that sounded like Numb and like that. And it didn't wind up happening. And, as the songs started coming out and, I got an idea of the direction I wanted, I was like, crap, now I got this name that sounds all like, grr, and it seems really incongruous. So I was like, well, how can I fix these two? And I was thinking, well, I still want to, keep some kind of a traditional industrial themes. So I was thinking, what's a traditional industrial theme that has like a little bit of a humorous edge? And I thought Angry Robot. And I was like, all right, how can I work that into the name? Well, what if he was an angry refrigerator robot? So that was that. And I sat down with Stitchmind, and I drew up a sort of basic idea of what I thought I might want, and he put it together, and it came out exactly as I imagined it, which was amazing. And yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. With all the artists and bands that you've worked with so far, what would you say is your favorite out of all the projects you've done? And
the band that I usually have it's a really hard call between Area and Caustic to say what's the most fun. I mean,
Area is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and those are, I mean, just to to hang out with and to be on tour with. They're very different experiences, but Jennifer and Matt are both very close friends of mine, and they're fantastic people, and I love playing the music in both. So in terms of just fun, I think that's the most. The most difficult was definitely Cyclone 9, but I also think we had the most powerful, and I guess this is going to sound kind of pompous, I don't really mean it that way, but I think the most important music. I think that's, out of all the stuff that I've done, I think that's going to survive, and it's going to affect people for a long time. Because, that's the only band I've ever been in where it's like, we'd be walking around and somebody'd be like, hey, I've got you tattooed on my arm, or something like that. And I know people with Area tattoos and Caustic tattoos. I don't know anybody with an Everything Goes Cold tattoo. Somebody should fix that. Possibly me. But, yeah. And then I also got to give a shout out to Deathline International, which was, I guess, the first band I guess I was in on like a sort of in a more professional level. And that was tons of fun, and I learned a lot about just how to operate in the industry when I was playing in Deathline. And yeah.
Now, with all the projects that you have worked on, you obviously have a lot of knowledge about the industry and the way that it works. Now, I have heard a lot of people say, if you want to get like your band, noticed, you should put out a lot of remixes. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that would be a great way to start, or?
Well, I think that traditionally that was true. Right now, that's one of those things where I think that idea has been around for so long that it is, the marketplace has been a little flooded with stuff like that, and I found that in the current market, consumers aren't tracking down music the way they used to. They're not doing the follow the chain thing. People are buying songs one at a time instead of whole albums, which is changing things, and people are. Access is easier. The marketplace is flooded, and it's real hard to get yourself to stand out. I like remixes. We're doing an EP that's going to have a lot of remixes. I got a great mix back already from Be My Enemy, which is awesome. It's Phil Berry from Cubanate, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. So I like doing that stuff. And I also I did a remix, came out I guess last year, for a 16 volt that was one of my favorite things that I've ever worked on. But I guess what I'd say is you can't bank on it. It's a cool thing to do, and it's a good strategy. I think it's important that you don't go and put all your eggs in one basket. If you've got an album that has nothing to stand on, but you went and paid whatever money to get a Combi Christ remix or something, that Combi Christ remix might be great, because it probably will be actually, because that's our Combi Christ. But you got to be careful with that, and you gotta make sure that you've got something else selling your album other than just a fancy name. And I would encourage people to make sure that the remixes they're putting out are actually good also, which is something which is surprisingly absent in a lot of big remix releases.
Right.
So yeah.